again, everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, June the 29th, and time again, at last, for another mailbag. I hope you guys have been doing well. I hope you've had a really good week and a good weekend. It's been kind of a strange week for the science fiction community. I addressed some of the things that have been going on in a community post a couple of days ago, but yeah, wow. I don't want to, relitigate or rediscuss any of it here. We are here to check out some books. I have a new stack of e-arcs, NetGalley arcs that I've gotten from some publishers, but are you ready? We've got some physical review copies. I know, I don't know if this signals a full-on return just yet to the regular weekly Mailbag Monday, right? That I used to be able to give you guys every Monday, but we are maybe trickling back into that pattern slowly, hopefully, and maybe towards the end of summer as we get into fall, we'll be back to seeing some regularity with the mailbags again, with real physical books handy, and that would be awesome. So I have 3 physical packages and maybe about a dozen e-arcs to get through with you guys, and so without any further ado, let's check them out. And this first one here, a white envelope, probably a Tor title. And it is. We are starting this week with Glorious. It's by Gregory Benford and Larry Niven. This came out back on June the 16th, so, it gets here eventually. And this is the 3rd book in a trilogy that started with Bowl of Heaven and Shipstar. And so now Glorious is available. This is, it looks like good old school hard science fiction by a couple of OGs, right? So let's just see. What I can say about it, it concludes the Bowl of Heaven series, praised by Booklist as a solid adventure and entertaining speculation on the lives of alien creatures. In the journey that began with the New York Times bestseller Bowl of Heaven and its sequel Shipstar, audacious astronauts encounter bizarre, sometimes deadly life forms and strange exotic cosmic phenomena, including miniature black holes, dense fields of interstellar plasma, powerful gravity emitters, and spectacularly massive space-based alien-built labyrinths. Well then, all right. The alien civilization is far more advanced than our own, and difficult for our astronauts to comprehend. The astronauts must explore and document this brave, new, highly dangerous world, while also dealing with their own personal triumphs and conflicts, their loves and jealousies, joys and disappointments. Larry Niven and Gregory Benford, masters of the SF genre, and a sci-fi powered duo. Together they have combined their talents and expertise to create an unforgettable series for science fiction fans everywhere. And as I said, this is available now in hardcover from Tor. And the 2 previous books are also available, I'm sure, as paperbacks and ebooks and all of that. So Glorious by Benford and Niven. Cool. Okay, well, that made me happy. And next up, we have this box in from Simon and Schuster. And of course, now this is the part where Thomas was so excited that he had a physical package that he forgot to bring, a little knife to cut this tape with. So, I have to use a teeth. There. Well, my golly, isn't this beautiful? This is the finished hardcover copy from Saga Press of Kingdom of Liars. It's by Nick Martell. Let's see, this one... Yeah, this one's been out a little while. It says May the 5th, all right? But it says, it's an excellent fantasy debut with engaging world building. This is a pull quote from Brandon Sanderson. I thoroughly enjoyed the novel and look forward to following Nick's sure-to-be-lengthy writing career. All right. So, The Kingdom of Liars. If the taut crime drama of The Wire took place in an epic fantasy world, you would have The Kingdom of Liars. Upon reading the intricately plotted story filled with political intrigue, scandal, and rebellion, The Kingdom of Liars belies debut author Nick Martell's young age. At 25, he has built a fantasy world that can stand among those from the likes of Brandon Sanderson, Brent Weeks, and George R.R. Martin. Okay, so I guess you get the idea. It's that kind of fantasy. In a world where the currency for magical power is one's memories, a young man named Michael senses a crucial secret about his past, lurking in his barren mind. Michael, his sister Gwen, and their friends are petty criminals and outcasts, living on the streets in the Hollows. But when Michael sees an opportunity to find a way back into his past, he seizes it, in spite of the dangerous political machinations that come along with it. And he does find the truth, not only about himself and his family, but about the government and the pervasive corruption seizing his home. As more revelations come to light, Michael not only fights to know the truth, but to save his life. The Kingdom of Liars is as action-packed as it is an exploration of the meaning of truth. Oh, cool. All right, then. Well, this looks awfully good. Sounds very good as well. But The Kingdom of Liars is available now from Saga Press by 25-year-old Nick Martell. And last among the physical packages, we have this one in from, it says, Brilliance Audio? So, I don't usually get audiobooks, but might be Blackstone Publishing. We'll see. Okay, I was totally wrong. This is one I was not expecting at all. It's a book in from 47 North, and it's called Scarlet Odyssey. The author is C.T. Ruizi. See, there's a pull quote here that says, Ruizi says he based his unique science fiction and worldly tale on myths and stories he heard growing up in Swaziland. Because Ruizi combines technology, science fiction, and myth, the novel is like a video game filled with action and tension. Interesting. All right, well, let's see. In a lush and magical world inspired by the many cultures and myths of sub-Saharan Africa, there's a young man who, failing to conform to his society's expectations, is forced to journey thousands of miles away from home to redeem himself and save his people. This is the promise of Scarlet Odyssey, an epic fantasy, a masterful debut and series launch by C.T. Ruizi, a young black African writer based in South Africa. Comes out July the 1st. You had my interest. Now you have my attention. 18-year-old Sallow, the son of a respected warrior chief, dreams of becoming a mystic, even though his tribe considers books and magic unmanly and expects him to embrace his father's legacy. But after a diabolical enchantress attacks his village, Sallow publicly confesses that he has created a mystical device that will awaken his latent magical powers, and he asks permission from his queen, eager to prove that he can help protect his village in his own way. The queen agrees to allow this awakening ceremony, but commands him to travel across the lands north to the Jungle City, the political heart of the continent, in order to gather news of future threats. On the way to the city, he joins forces with an unlikely band of misfits, a shunned female warrior, a mysterious nomad, and a deadly assassin. And their friendships grow as they learn to work together despite their cultural differences. And their lives depend on their alliance, as they're being hunted by the same enchantress who attacked Sallow's village. As the evil witch's own dark history is revealed, it turns out that she may hold the key to Sallow's awakening and his redemption. With its innovative blend of fantasy with technology and science fiction, Scarlet Odyssey is a wholly original story that's grand in scope, with 4 points of view from characters of diverse backgrounds, traversing across a continent fragmented into many different tribes and clans, each with their own language. Yet the novel is also intimate with its powerful emotional core, as it addresses head-on the struggles of a young man coming of age and harnessing his own power in a society that doesn't honor his choices. Son of a gun. All right, then. C.T. Ruizi was born in Zimbabwe, grew up in Swaziland, finished high school in Costa Rica, and got a BA in government at Dartmouth in the U.S. Now, that is a worldly person, and now he currently lives in South Africa. Cool. I'm like, I had no idea this existed. This is as new to me as it is to you guys, and I think I'm going to bump it up the queue. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Scarlet Odyssey. Wow, okay. 3 physical books, and they were all pretty exciting, so good start to the mailbag. But now we're going to get into the ebooks, the NetGalley stuff that I have in. Most of these are from Orbit, from the Hachette group, but there's like a few Del Reys and Tors scattered in here, and I think at least one indie book. Okay, but we're starting out with a book called The Space Between Worlds. The author is Micaiah Johnson. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But it comes out from Del Rey on August the 4th, and it goes like this. Multiverse travel is finally possible, and traversers, the special few who can travel between worlds, are in high demand. The only catch, no one can travel to a world where their doppelganger is still alive. Enter Kara. Of her 380 parallel selves, only 8 have survived to adulthood, making her the most valuable traverser in Wily City. But when a routine mission goes horribly wrong, Kara finds herself in possession of an old and powerful secret, one that will change the fate of the multiverse forever. For fans of Interstellar, Mad Max, and Looper, as well as readers of socially aware, award-winning speculative fiction, such as The Fifth Season, or Nettie Korfor's Binti, and Blake Crouch's Dark Matter, that's an interesting trio of books to put together. The Space Between Worlds is a gritty adventure narrative, a queer romance, and a piercing examination of privilege, race, identity, and belonging. All right, nice. Okay, and as I said, that'll be out on August the 4th. Now, next up, this is one sent to me by the author. It's a book called Night Watch. The author is Tim Akers, who has published quite a few fantasies over various publishers. And this one will be out from Baen Books on September the 1st. So it's good that Tim got in touch with me, because Baen Books will not send me anything. But anyway, this one goes like this. John Rast went to the Ren Fair looking for a fight. Well, a simulated fight, with blunt swords and safety equipment. But when his final opponent turns into a living, fire-breathing dragon, John finds himself in the fight of his life. It's John or nothing, stopping a disaster in its tracks. And the only real weapon at hand is his mom's Volvo. So John decides to let it roll. And that's when destiny comes to call. John is spirited away to the well-hidden base of Night Watch, the organization that stands between humanity and the real nasties the rest of the world doesn't know about. Night Watch would be John's dream job, except for the storm goddess that destroys his parents' house, the abandoned mall replete with too much dead, and the fetch that aims to make John's domain a final resting place. All this has John's putative allies in the Night Watch worried that John is the one bringing bad things into multiple worlds. John and his reluctant teammates have to figure out who or what is pulling the strings before all of Night Watch falls prey to a well-concealed puppet master and far worse things enter this world. This actually sounds like quite a bit of fun. And thank you very much, Tim, for sending me the e-arc of this. I appreciate it, and I will read it for sure. On September the 1st from Baen Books. All right, and then next, okay, yeah, here it is right here. Next up, I do have this indie, again, that was sent to me. Not by the author, but I think just someone representing the author. But now this is for a horror novel called Skin Dreams by Brett McCormick. And he's described as someone who is from Texas, okay, and used to work in the Texas film industry, but in the early 90s, so we would not have crossed paths if that's the case. But I get the impression that he really enjoys kind of schlock horror, which is fine. They have a soft spot for that at times. And so this, I guess, this looks like a very kind of white trash Buffy sort of thing, if you can't tell from the cover. A young Texas white trash gal, Sadie Richards, runs afoul of a widespread cult of politicians, businessmen, and clergy who kidnap and enslave and sacrifice young women and children to dark forces from beyond this dimension. So yeah, I guess Sadie has a thing or two to say about that, and it looks like she's going to deal with it in ultra-violent fashion. If the cover's any indication. Okay, well, if you like this sort of thing, just gory, schlocky horror, then Skin Dreams by Brett McCormick will be out on October the 25th, just in time for Halloween. There are actually 2 previous books about Sadie, but I get the impression that you don't have to have read them in any order. You can probably start with this one if you are so inclined. Okay, then. Now we're moving on to the Orbit titles. Here they are. And bunch of sequels, but some new things as well. First up is The Worst of All Possible Worlds. This is by Alex White, and it is the 3rd book in the Salvagers series. First books were A Big Ship at the End of the Universe and A Bad Deal for the Whole Galaxy. And in this one, the ragtag crew of the Capricious, that's the name of the ship, hunts down rogue AI, ancient colony ships, and the biggest treasure in the universe in this pulse-pounding space adventure for fans of Firefly and The Expanse. So, that kind of story. The crew of the Capricious seems to leave a trail of devastation wherever they go. But with powerful enemies in pursuit and family and friends under attack planet-side, there's no time to worry about all that. Ensnared by the legend of Origin, humanity's birthplace and a long-dead form of magic, the Capricious takes off on a journey to find the first colony ship and power that could bring down gods. This is a series that freely mixes elements of fantasy with space opera. And so the 3rd book, The Worst of All Possible Worlds, will be out July the 28th. Also, out from Orbit on July the 28th, we've got Chaos Vector. This is by Megan O'Keefe, and it's the sequel to Velocity Weapon. And it goes like this: dazzling space battles, intergalactic politics, and rogue AI. There's always just so many rogue AI. What about like a really nice, trustworthy AI who would, make her coffee just perfect and, wake you up in the morning with an alarm that was just like pleasant music and warm your bath for you? Why can't you have AIs like this? They always have to be rogues. Oh well, maybe there's like a rogue AI union out there that is just making sure all the rogue AIs get proper work. Yeah, I guess that's fair, right? Unions. All right. Anyway, all of these things collide in the second book in this epic space opera by award-winning author Megan O'Keefe. Sanda and Thomas are fleeing for their lives after letting the most dangerous smart ship in the universe run free. Now, unsure of who to trust, Sanda knows only one thing for certain: to be able to save herself from becoming a pawn of greater powers. She needs to discover the secret of the coordinates hidden in her skull. But getting to those coordinates is a problem she can't solve alone. They exist beyond a dead gate, a Casimir gate that opened up into a dead-end system without resources worth colonizing and was sealed off. To get through the dead gate, she needs the help of the enemy Nazca. But some Nazca are only interested in the chip in her head, and they'll crack her open to get it. All right, so Chaos Vector from Megan O'Keefe is out on July the 28th. Now, next up, also from Orbit, we've got a massive new epic fantasy from Django Wexler. It's called Ashes of the Sun. It's the start of a new trilogy. And it says, long ago, a magical war destroyed an empire, and a new one was built in its ashes. But still the old grudges simmer, and two siblings will fight on opposite sides to save their world in the start of Django Wexler's new epic fantasy trilogy. Geyer hasn't seen his beloved sister since their parents sold her to the mysterious Twilight Order. Now, 12 years after her disappearance, Geyer's sole focus is revenge, and he's willing to risk anything and anyone to claim enough power to destroy the Order. Chasing rumors of a fabled city protecting a powerful artifact, Geyer comes face to face. It could be Gyre. It's spelled G-Y-R-E. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Anyway, he comes face to face with his lost sister, but she isn't who she once was. Trained to be a warrior, Maya wields magic for the Twilight Order's cause. Standing on opposite sides of a looming civil war, the two siblings will learn that not even the ties of blood will keep them from splitting the world in two. Okay, and that's Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler on July the 21st. Here's one coming out a bit sooner than that. On July the 7th, we have another sequel. This is Random Shit Flying Through the Air. And the author is Jackson Ford, and this is the sequel to The Girl Who Could Move Shit with Her Mind. All right. It says, Tegan Frost, the girl with telekinetic powers and a killer Pela recipe, faces a new threat that could wipe out her home forever in the second book of Jackson Ford's irreverent fantasy series. Tegan Frost's life is finally back on track. Her role working for the government as a psychokinetic operative is going well. She might also be on course for convincing her crush, Nick Delacourt, to go out with her. Go Tegan. And she's even managed to craft the perfect paella. But Tegan is about to face her biggest threat yet. A young boy with the ability to cause earthquakes has come to Los Angeles, home to the San Andreas, one of the most lethal fault lines in the world. If Tegan can't stop him, the entire city and the rest of California will be wiped off the map. I would say you're welcome to LA, but I have friends who live in LA, so yes, go ahead and save LA. Why not? But Random Shit Flying Through the Air, which is a good name for a book about an earthquake, by Jackson Ford, will be out on July the 7th. Okay, so we are still on board with Orbit here. Another sequel. This is KJ Parker's How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It. Comes out on August the 18th. This is the sequel to 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City. This is the story of how the city was saved by Notker the Professional Liar, written down because eventually the truth always seeps through. The city may be under siege, but everyone has to make a living. Take Notker, the acclaimed playwright, actor, and impresario. Nobody works harder, even when he's not working. Thankfully, it turns out that people enjoy the theater just as much when there are big rocks falling out of the sky. But Notker is a man of many talents, and all the world is apparently a stage. It seems that the Empire needs him, or someone who looks a lot like him, for a role that will call for the performance of a lifetime. At least it will guarantee fame, fortune, and immortality if it doesn't kill him first. This is the story of Notker, an occasionally good man and a terrible liar. With razor-sharp wit, K.J. Parker has created one of fantasy's greatest heroes, and he might even get away with it. Okay, then. It sounds cute and very enjoyable, and as I said, out on August the 18th from Orbit Books. And next up, let's have a look here. All right, this is a Del Rey book that will be out on August the 25th, and it's called Ink and Sigil by Kevin Hearn. And it is apparently a spin-off series, a new book in a spin-off series from his Iron Druid Chronicles, of which there are several, volumes now. Kevin Hearn returns to the world of his beloved Iron Druid Chronicles in a spin-off series about an eccentric master of rare magic solving an uncanny mystery in Scotland. Okay. Al McBarris is both blessed and cursed. He is blessed with an extraordinary white mustache, an appreciation for craft cocktails, and a most unique magical talent. He can cast spells with magically enchanted ink, and he uses his gifts to protect our world from rogue minions of various pantheons, especially the Fae. But he is also cursed. Anyone who hears his voice will begin to feel an inexplicable hatred for Al, so he can only communicate through the written word or speech apps. Okay. And his apprentices keep dying in peculiar freak accidents. As his personal life crumbles around him, he devotes his life to his work, all the while trying to crack the secret of his curse. But when his latest apprentice, Gordy, turns up dead in his Glasgow flat, Al discovers evidence that Gordy was living a secret life of crime. Now, Al is forced to play detective while avoiding actual detectives who are wondering why death seems to always follow Al. Investigating his apprentice's death will take him through Scotland's magical underworld, and he'll need the help of a mischievous hobgoblin if he's to survive. I am going to assume that hopefully Scotland is chock full of mischievous hobgoblins. So, Ink and Sigil from Kevin Hearn, available from Del Rey Books on August the 25th. Now, let's move on. Let's see. All right, these now are some Tor titles coming up. And this next one will be out on July the 7th. It's called Or What You Will, and it is the new book by Jo Walton. She's prolific lately, I must say. It says, he has been too many things to count. He has been a dragon with a boy on his back. He has been a scholar, a warrior, a lover, and a thief. He has been a dream and a dreamer. He has been a god. But he is in fact nothing more than a spark of idea, a character in the mind of Sylvia Harrison, 73, award-winning author of 30 novels over 40 years. He has played a part in most of these novels, and in the recesses of her mind, Sylvia has conversed with him for years, but Sylvia won't live forever, any more than any human does. And he's trapped inside her cave of bone, her hollow of skull. When she dies, so will he. Now, Sylvia is starting a new novel, a fantasy for adult readers, set in Thalia, the Florence-resembling imaginary city that was the setting for a successful YA trilogy she published decades before. Of course he's got a part in it, but he also has a notion. He thinks he knows how he and Sylvia can step off the wheel of mortality altogether. All he has to do is convince her. Okay, I like this premise. I like this idea that the character in her head, does have his own life and interacts with her and can influence her. Kind of cool. I mean, unless it's, a sign of something a little bit more sinister. But Or What You Will be out by Jo Walton next week, it looks like. July the 7th. From Tor. And also from Tor, we're going to jump ahead to September the 15th. This is The Hellion by S.A. Hunt, and it is the third book in the Malus Domestica series. First volume, I Burn the Dark, and then the second volume, I Come with Knives. And it says it's for fans of chilling adventures of Sabrina and Stranger Things. S.A. Hunt's The Hellion, third installment of their horror-tinged action-adventure series about a punk YouTuber on a mission to hunt down the supernatural one video at a time. Robin Martine has destroyed witches all across the country, but since her confrontation with the demon Andress, Robin has had to deal with her toughest adversary yet, herself. While coming to grips with new abilities, she and her boyfriend Kenway make their way to the deserts of rural Texas, where new opportunities await. They do? Because, I'm living kind of in rural Texas, so I'm sure a lot of people would like to know there's new opportunities. All right. Well, then again, not everybody's in the business of, fighting supernatural shit. So there's that. Something lurks in the isolated town of Keystone Hills. A dangerous gang ruled by a husband who wields an iron fist over his wife and daughter. Robin vows to protect these Latina women from harm, but may be underestimating how powerful Santiago Valenzuela is, and how his shape-shifting powers may pose a threat to everyone Robin holds dear. Okay, so they're kind of packaged to look like horror, but from where I'm sitting here, it all sounds like urban fantasy, and or rural fantasy, I suppose, as the case may be. But that's all right. The Hellion, though, available on September the 15th. So if you're interested in this series, you got plenty of time to go ahead and jump into the first 2 books. Okay, and finally, on the ebook list this week, we have a book coming out in November the 10th. This is from Echo Press, which is a Harper Collins imprint. And it is called The Arrest. The author is Jonathan Lethem. And Jonathan Lethem is an intriguing author who is sort of like more of a literary slipstream kind of writer. He doesn't really do traditional science fiction, but he does those books that sort of, skate around the edges of genre and cross over and back and to and fro. And they just sort of like live by their own rules. And so, yeah, I'm intrigued by this one. It says, from the award-winning author of The Feral Detective and Motherless Brooklyn comes an utterly original post-apocalyptic yarn about 2 siblings, the man that came between them and a nuclear-powered supercar. The Arrest isn't post-apocalypse, it isn't a dystopia, it isn't a utopia. It's just what happens when much of what we take for granted, cars, guns, computers, and airplanes, for starters, quit working. Before The Arrest, Sandy Duplessis had a reasonably good life as a screenwriter in L.A. An old college friend and writing partner, the charismatic and malicious Peter Todbaum, had become one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. That didn't hurt. Now, post-arrest, nothing is what it was. Sandy, who calls himself Journeyman, has landed in rural Maine. There he assists the butcher and delivers the food grown by his sister Maddie at her organic farm. But then Todbaum shows up in an extraordinary vehicle, a retrofitted tunnel digger powered by a nuclear reactor. Todbaum has spent The Arrest smashing his way across a fragmented and phantasmagorical United States, trailing enmities all the way. Plopping back into the sibling's life with his usual odious panache, his motives are entirely unclear. Can it be that Todbaum wants to produce one more extravaganza? Whatever he's up to, it may fall to Journeyman to stop him. Written with unrepentant joy and shot through with just the right amount of contemporary dread, The Arrest is speculative fiction at its absolute finest. Sounds all very original, and like it could be a really blistering satire of, just the American climate. Coming at an interesting time, right? But yeah, The Arrest, out November the 10th, from Echo Press by Jonathan Lethem. And there you have it. That's what I've got for this week in the mailbag. You guys know the drill, or at least I hope you remember the drill from so many weeks away. Line up those comments. Let me know which of these books looks most interesting and exciting to you, and which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe if you have not done so. That's how the channel grows, and we have just passed here at SFF180 8,000 subscribers. I am very grateful to all of you for the many, many years of support. Now let's bump this thing to 10, shall we? We can do this. We can do it by the end of the year, I bet. Right? Otherwise, you can support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army get little perks like getting to see some of my videos early access. I want to thank all of those people for their additional support. It is greatly appreciated and very helpful. And I'm very sorry that I have not been as prolific with my uploads during these last couple of months of lockdowns and COVID and the entire world catching fire. But I shall try to do better as we move into the second half of summer, I promise. So, otherwise, I want to thank all the rest of you for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube, and until I see all of you next time, stay safe and healthy and happy reading.